2009 was a promising year. It started out with a bang. My first home was in escrow. I had what I thought was a decent career, and I even experienced success with a non-profit organization that my best friend Levon and I had started. We were performing funny art projects around the city using trash as our medium. One of these projects was even featured on CNN, right in between Barack Obama's inauguration ceremony on television. We got such a blast out of it.
Welcome to Time Warner SoCal News. I'm Christina McCauley. Well, discarded street trash in Van Nuys never looked so good, thanks to local artist and childhood friends Levon and Elon, who for the last several months have been using trash to show their artistic expression. Jessica Rosales has more.
On April 20, 2009, during my 29th birthday celebration, I'll never forget the wish I made as I closed my eyes after looking at my beautiful sweetheart Zadie across from me and then blowing out the candles in my cake. I wished my home successfully closed escrow without the true realization that what I already had in front of me in that tiny apartment was everything that I'd ever wished for. On May 30, 2009, my girlfriend Zadie was tragically murdered at the hands of one of her own family members. When I got the news, my heart slammed and I physically dropped to the floor. The denial, permanency, and incomprehensibility of it all couldn't be soothed by anything but slow time. In November, 7 months later, I eventually got the home and it meant nothing to me. I dragged my feet and the world around me was changing in all sorts of ways. I searched for meaning and I no longer tolerated weak promises that had previously occupied my future plans. My job was the first to go. The instant I quit my job, I already knew what I was going to do and there was no wavering about my intentions. I was going to motorcycle the Pan American Highway and all the way down past Brazil, and on the way I was going to pay homage to my sweetheart Zadie in her home country of Honduras. I figured that I could do art projects utilizing the nonprofit and hopefully turn it into a new career, something that I loved doing. Yo, what's up? This is Ian coming in through from on my way from Rosario, Mexico to Guerrero Negro, Mexico. Basically, the weather's just changing on me, so it's changing up so quickly that it's like I'm in a sweater, then I'm taking off my clothes, I'm putting it back on. It's raining, it's hotter than hell, it's cold. So I'm getting thrown through a couple loops over here, but it's working out great because, as you can see, I'm basically surrounded by just vastness, nature and nothing, and desert and hawks and rattlesnakes, and it's great. The mind really starts to wander on you when you're out here, so I'm loving that. In my life, all the songs I've written, if you just only try and listen, they're written for you. I'm on a train without a track, praying on your sweet loving that I'm gonna have it back. It's so lonely here, depending on your answers, dear.
Other type of intelligence. PTA 2010.
Could have taken so long, all the hearts I won. I already had the one I want. Now I'm missing, but you're not listening. Where did I go wrong? It's just a small price I pay.
When this adventure started, I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was that I had the opportunity and I felt unleashed. My girlfriend's death sent me crashing through the walls of my former reality and presented me with discovery. This adventure, I have no doubt, because I saw it in the sky, was a consolation from her. And win, lose, or draw, I could lose my life on this trip, and that would have been just the way I'd have liked it. I was bent on steamrolling the Pan Am Highway the best way I knew it. Women, new life, discovery, and art were all on the list.
I realize that there's no running away from the fear. There's no running away from the fear.
The Pacific coast of Mexico was beautiful. Its laid-back surfer mentality and lush abundance of nature provide for a cushy, rich lifestyle. Despite spectacular vistas in Baja, Mexico, and attractive women in resort towns like Mazatlan, my first most impressionable experience is from my stay in Zihuatanejo, Mexico, at Hostal Rincón del Viajero. There was an all-star cast at the time, so we hit it off beautifully. I'll let my friend Camilo introduce.
Hello, my name is Rene Ramirez. I'm a worker at this amazing hostel called Rincón del Viajero. Look at it. Look at the vibrancy around you. It's not just a hostel, it's a botanical garden too. Look at the flowers, look at the colors, look at the palm trees, look at the trees. It's what makes this place unique. No hostel has ever been created like this one, which makes it amazing. What we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to the proud owner of this, should I say, work of art. And we're going to have a little interview with her. Hello, Marley.
Hi Camilo, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. I just came over because I wanted to ask you a few questions about this amazing place.
Alright, go ahead.
First of all, I just wanted to say, where did you get the idea to make this fantastic hostel?
Oh well, as it involves most of my skills, I just decided to open this place for the enjoyment of people who enjoy, as well as me, the culture of water.
Malinali was amazing. I felt she was really living her dream, running a hostel, getting to personally know her guests, promoting a culture of living, and most importantly, living an example life. She very much so resonated with me.
Hey, this is Malinali, and here is Zihuatanejo. We are just around Salinas Lagoon. We are around the beach, and I'm in collaboration with Public Trash Art. Now we are going to develop here our next project. Right there.
During the first nights of easy living at her hostel and shortly before Camilla was enduring an unhumanly bout with malaria, we established that we shared similar interests. I explained to her about Public Trash Art, and she was all in for helping me out with my first project in Mexico. She told me about the trash problem in Zihuatanejo and how the city runs sewer canals directly into the mouth of the bay. She invited me out the following morning to show me all about it.
How's it going? This is Ian from Public Trash Art. We're here in Zihuatanejo, Mexico. And what we're doing here is an exercise of perception. As you can see, this river is pretty polluted. It's a beautiful place nevertheless here. But what I'm going to do is this. I just want to envision this place as a piece of art. what I got here is a simple design. If you just look through it, it may change your perception. This is the main mission of public trash art, is to give value to where there's no more value.
I mean, you can have nice waves here, but it's kind of dirty. As you saw before, the drain, the main city drain is dropping water through here, through the channel in the ocean. So I won't surf here, for sure not. But many people, as you can see, swimming already, and some guys desperate looking for waves surf around here. So this is our spot.
Know that I wish I could sing.
So I cannot tell this is art, but frame it in fluorescent. Maybe it's more interesting for people who cannot see the usual natural colors.
Malin and her friends are born surfers. Their culture respects the waves of the ocean, and that makes them the coolest environmentalists in the world. They live and breathe a respect for their surroundings and are well aware that their Pacific Coast Mexico is enchantingly endowed. They would do anything to protect it. Albeit their civil engineers or government or whatever hasn't got it right yet, there is a freedom here that is protected by the strongest and toughest of those in Mexico. I was proud to have spent my time among them.
Nameless man sing the chorus, with no beds to lay our heads. Have they found the heart to ignore us? Since we're too old to laugh like kids, spinning our wheels, we pass them at night. Never we will let our children outside. Oh mama, couldn't dream that it would ever turn out this way for me.
After Zihuatanejo, Mexico, I felt my adventure was granted a blessing. Malinali and the Pacific Coast were absolutely vibrant and receptive. I was getting used to being on the road, and the continuation from California to Baja California and on through the southernmost Pacific region of Mexico coastline naturally was a view that I dreamed of seeing growing up in Los Angeles. I felt it was an extension of my Los Angelino origin.
Vámonos.
In Puerto Escondido, Mexico, the surfing mecca of Mexico, is where I linked up with fellow traveler Patricia from Köln, Germany. She ended up jumping on the back of my bike, and we traveled together to Oaxaca, where we stayed about a week. It was a needed stay for myself since I ended up getting sick, and Patsy had to feed me ramen cup of noodles until I sweated out the virus in me. She was a good luck charm, and I still use today a backpack she gave me from the medical experiment study she was in Mexico participating with. Trek study. I was headed to Mexico City with great inspiration. My daily routine was an espresso, un croissant, and a poem. My creativity was growing strong. Especially when motoring the highway, epiphanies would come to me, and I would have time, rhythm, and patience to dwell on the things that most fascinated me, no matter how abstract. The Mental Institution Project campaign Epiphany was a classic example.
Hello, this is Ian Palmer from PTA in Mexico 2010 on the mission Another Type of Intelligence. The definition of insanity: to do the same mistake without learning from your mistake over and over again, which in other words means that sanity is directly connected to a sense of reason and logic. However, what happens to those people that have no connection with reality or reason and that are deemed insane? Well, unfortunately, they are usually institutionalized and separated. However, I think they should be appreciated and not so easily abandoned, in the sense that they do have another type of intelligence which is completely non-restrictive of logic. Therefore, PTA is going to make its own project, the embracing the insane people and making it cooler to hang out with them, if you know what I mean.
Guess it was tempting to take advantage of those things that used to be free. 'Cause when you ain't got no money, it costs a lot just to walk down your avenue of broken dreams. It's something about how you like now and how you got no.
Perhaps I should rewind a bit and fill in on more about my state of mind at the outset of this adventure. When Zadie died, I was destroyed. Furthermore, very quickly after her death, I fell into a relationship with Fiore, an exotically cute Peruana. Most likely because the foundation of our relationship was predicated by my hurt from losing Zadie, it probably wasn't something that was meant to last. It was another layer added to the tapestry of my survival that, in many ways, would eventually take another little piece of my heart away. A theme that would continue to define my adventure until the very end.
I want you to feel what I mean. How many rules are there in this game? I thought we were more than mere labeling, but I still feel something enduring. After the laughter come the tears, and so I fear I see nothing but a road. Rough and cold, leading up a mountain.
I am a trash artist, and much deeper than that, I am an abandoned artist, which to me is at the core of all things wasted, lost from their valued state. Abandonment is a form of change, essentially. Change is transition. The more abrupt and shocking, the more change becomes abandonment. All perspectives change, whether noticeably by a smooth transition or abruptly by a traumatizing transition. We perpetually evolve our senses, and today is merely a snapshot. My quest for discovery in the abandoned is not coincidentally PTA's mantra, but my own personal story and blueprinting. For whatever reasons, I was born to adventure in my rough, unrefined style. I am an explorer, and I can see it in no other way. Next up on the map for PTA's adventure, Another Type of Intelligence, is Mexico City, also known as DF, short for Distrito Federal. If there is one accurate word for my experience there, I would have to pick overwhelming. Its borders are vast on a mega scale, No human can truly know inside and out every DF barrio. It's simply impossible. As I motored in pouring rain up the steady incline approach to DF's 7,500 foot elevated valley, on my first sight from a perch above in the surrounding mountains, all I could see was a smog-filled, crater-looking expanse, the curvature of which hardly noticeable in width. Above from the mountains, the weather was arid, thin, and dry. Inside, the dark mist of gray below in the city was pouring rain, as it usually is because of its unique geography. On my descent in, the rain soaked me and my bike, and I was hanging on to a thread of orientation, given I only had my Lonely Planet to guide me.
I'm living in a place so glitter when it's dark, glitter when it's dark. We check ourselves to rehab and just to see the stars. You're so close, I'm so far. I go out, but I'm so stuck in the clouds. With each minute of each passing hour, I'll admit it, I may have lost my heart with you.
I went to the first hostel in Lonely Planet and it was booked. Second place, booked. I looked around and talked to passerbys as to where I could possibly find more hostels until finally I landed at vacant Hostal Moneda, just on the corner at the center of Mexico City, which is marked El Zócalo. Getting acclimatized to Mexico City took me time. The altitude, amazing but somewhat questionable quality of food, and general mayhem left me blurred and slightly ill. I remained slightly ill more or less my entire stay there, but let me not dwell on the small things. Hostal Moneda had everything I could ask for, and more. The staff, friends I met, and community kept me at a nimble vantage point to enjoy DF like no man before. I got used to my routine quick. I had found a fruit juice and sandwich place on the corner for breakfast and poetry. Then I would venture to one tourist destination a day, such as Frida Kahlo's house, and then eat delicious street-side tacos, and then return to Hostal Moneda, where the entire cast would party the rest of the night off drinking mezcal. In the foray of this scene, at Hostal Moneda, is where I first met Julianne Hess. What a name. I looked over at her and all there was to see was a big smile and a wink. We made sure that we landed at the same dinner table that night and hit it off famously. That night, we also met as a group, fellow traveler Adrian, intern Andrea, and Javier, the night concierge who would end up taking us to the top of the two epic volcanoes atop DF's highest point. Julianne and I started blending our routines. We would go each morning to the top of the Sears building across from Bellas Artes for a daily cappuccino. The view from there was encompassing and it was a great place for us to catch up on each other's drama. Julianne was also going through a relationship breakup, and I related to her about my emotional stress, and in the end we fell into each other's eyes and made our own drama. She was such a sweetheart, and I know we had such an effortless communication. The Sears building and Cappuccino weren't the only heights that we climbed to. We were lucky enough to have been invited by Javier, Hostal Moneda's night shift concierge, to climb up to the top of Mexico's greatest twin volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. We gathered a crew together set as Adrian, Julianne, myself, and our guide, Javier. Our destination twin volcanic mountain ranges, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl, are folklored by all Mexicans as Mexico's version of Romeo and Juliet. Whether I'm Romeo or Julianne is Juliet is not the moral of the story. We all as a team hiked up this impressive mountain ridge right in between the two volcanoes.
Hola, mi nombre es Javier de México. Estamos en el Iztaccíhuatl. So maybe you cannot say it in English, but I don't care. So this part maybe will be the part of the booth, of the sleep woman. That part, kind of the stomach. And that part, you cannot see but because of the clouds. That's the feet. For me, it's a really, really hard way to get here. But I recommend to you to do this. 2010 PTA.
Hey! What's up? This is Ian Palmer, PTA, Mexico 2010. We're over here at Iztaccíhuatl, a volcanic mountain that's now dormant. We're chilling here with my buddies, Adrian, Javier, and we just summited mountain here at a circa 1:30, and it's just amazing.
I'm on top of the mountain in a cloud vortex.
My flow in DF was so natural and things were falling into place. My only objective was to have fun, and somehow I got people's attention about public trash art. We learned about an exhibition going on in the city called Residual that were conducting various installations around the city promoting trash artists. I couldn't believe my luck and timing. Julian helped me locate and meet the curator of the exhibition and land an interview with him and his Residual art team at one of their installations at a park nearby. I got to give it to Julian for being such a trooper and jumping in to help film the interviews and ride along and be a part of it.
So Julie,
Yes.
in Germany, from your experience, what do you feel is the attitude regarding trash?
Trash, or let's say the end product of the goods we possess, are way more a part of the everyday life in the conscious. When we consume, we don't just finish off with littering. By now, I would say you won't find fridges and TVs and sofas on the streets anymore. They wouldn't just leave it there to rot.
Why are you so cute?
Because I really want to be.
Are all Germans as cute as you?
Only when they're with Ian Palmer. Ian Palmer, publictrashart.com.
That's good.
I'm being honest with you, but not being honest with me. What I feel for you, it's not my choice. It's just the words that come through that are worthless than my voice.
Julianne finally had to make her way south to discover the rest of Mexico on her own, and I was sad to see her go. We made a pact that we'd meet up somewhere down south, and with that I sent her off. She jumped into a caravan of surfer Aussies going southwest towards Puerto Escondido, where I had just came from, and after that I was left there at Hostal Moneda alone to complete a boxing project that Julianne and I had thought up.
Forget it, forget it. I'm living in a place so glitter when it's dark, and glitter when it's dark. You check yourself to rehab and just to see the stars.
Mexico? No, it's good. Hey, how's it going? This is Ian. We're in Mexico right now. We're in this park. This is Alameda de Santa Maria, and what's happening here is basically it's part of an exhibition that's called Residual, and they have 8 different artists from Germany and from Mexico, and they're trying to solve this trash quandary. Here we are with the curator of Residual, the entire Residual here, Gonzalo Ortega. What, in very simple words, what does Residual mean to you?
Well, the whole idea of the Residual project was to finding different ways to generate awareness in the society about this huge problem we are having in the whole planet with our waste generation.
Speaking with Residual's curator Gonzalo Ortega was an honor. I was able to finally connect with a like-minded artist during Public Trash Art's adventure documentary, Another Type of Intelligence. In my interview with him, we mused through various concerns and approaches towards what I call trash art and he calls residual art. Among the topics we discussed were his personal contributions that he is making, public art, and the link between artists and community, as well as what we both feel strongly about, which is the importance of attitude towards trash.
I find trash on the street, and what I do is it's very much a social statement of what's going on, and I just find this stuff, and I'll make a sculpture, and then I just get to the reactions of people. My main mission is basically to create pride in the community. I think that pride is number one.
It's not about separating waste and making things right because of nature. It's also because of generating this feeling of belonging to a community.
Yeah. Is there one word that symbolizes this challenge that we have?
The interaction with people. You know, because if art remains as an object that people can go and only take a look and take their distance of this project, it cannot work.
During our in-depth and lofty conversation, I explained PTA's artistic approach towards working with trash as our medium and the challenges and objectives we face, such as creating pride in the community. We bounced ideas around and he reacted positively, putting it in his own words as belonging to a community and creating a feeling or attitude that ultimately lay at the core of our artistic expression. Gonzalo Ortega believes that interaction is the missing link between awareness and community, and that can be fulfilled by the artist's role in our unique brand of art.
Can you relate abandonment and trash? Do you see a relation between this?
Take a look, for example, to these areas in the States where what you're talking about, these rich areas. Yeah. You won't see anything on the floor. Yes, everything would look very pretty and organized. But this doesn't mean that they are dealing good with their waste.
One of my main goals is to actually make this a new genre of art that people can express themselves, almost like graffiti. Do you think that this is possible to make this genre of art big, just like surrealism or minimalism or representationalism? Do you think that this is a possible thing to do?
Because, for example, I know, surrealism, and but I am not interested in the whole movement. I'm interested in the proposal of individuals that are creating inside of this movement. So if you're talking about creating a new movement, a new kind of art, yes, it's completely possible. But personally, I would be more interested in seeing what people are creating.
Thank you so much, Gonzalo. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
When this interview was conducted in 2010, I had lofty ambitions as to how I visualized my role using the abstraction of art as my medium for expression. As our interview discussion neared its end, both Gonzalo Ortega's perspective and mine crossed paths. As it seemed, I was perhaps trying to revolutionize the entire world with a new genre of art, and he was more concerned with the individual's role. He coins this role as the proposal of the individual. Hearing his insight in this way was a turning point for me as I started to understand what he meant and contrasted my own viewpoint as perhaps a bit idealistic. Nevertheless, this meeting with this wise man was a sign of good luck for PTA's Pan American Highway Adventure documentary. It was a warm welcome to Mexico City, a great city indeed, where I subsequently collaborated with residual art team member Salvador Sorria to perform a boxing art project at the Zócalo City Center. Gonzalo Ortega and the residual art team inspired me. The main takeaway message I left from our interview was that of interaction, and I related to it something I had been thinking about for a while: boxing, a sport that embodies the indomitable spirit of man and a sport I follow passionately. I thought, what better metaphor for fighting for a cause than just literally going out there and actually fighting with my own hands. I wanted to make a spectacle of it, so I chose the dead center of Mexico City, El Zócalo, to exhibit a performance art show.
We are playing little games, we are sweet little games.
My flow and natural progression of things continued effortlessly. One particular artist that I hit it off fabulously with was Salvador Soria, a residual art team member. Without his contribution, the show wouldn't have been possible. From the start of brainstorming and planning this project, he was there. By his graciousness of inviting us into his home and offering his resources in any way he could, we prepared for the big fight.
Living in a big city, not easy for anyone. Calling on anybody, making love to just a friend.
Another seamless addition to the project was Anna Sofia Charlier. I consider her like an angel. Lord knows I was getting myself into something much more than I can chew, and I needed support. She just so happened to be staying at the hostel and, upon hearing about the idea, was all in. It's not a common thing to meet people willing to dress up in trash and parade around boxy inanimate objects. Unbelievably enough, though, she had experience working with costume fabrication from her theatrical art background in Belgium as a street performance artist, and helped us fabricate outfits using solely trash as our materials. I thought the results were stunning. The fourth member of the crew was, lo and behold, the great Javier, Hostal Moneda's night shift concierge, as the cameraman. He came through yet again, and I appreciated all of their support much more than they would ever know. We were ready to make our way to the Zócalo for PTA's boxing art performance. If connecting with these great new friends willing to participate with me wasn't enough of a blessing, the Sunday that we unwittingly chose to perform the show was coincidentally a confirmation of divine providence. It just so happens that on this Sunday, the Boy Scouts and Girls of Mexico had planned the world's largest fleur de lis art formation using wasted aluminum cans, 298,000 of them to be exact, as their art medium. Exactly at the Zócalo. From an aerial vantage point, their achievement can be respected as a veritable contribution. The symbolic relevance it shared with our own cause was a perfect fit. Amen.
We are playing little games, we are sweet little games.
Sophie, Salvador, Javier, and I made our way to the Zócalo, and we went for it. Sophie did an excellent job rounding spectators into an audience, while Salvador got on the loudspeaker to entertain and inform them of our purpose. All I had to do was bounce around shadowboxing until the action started and then knock the trash enemy out.
Hey, how do you feel, man?
This is tough, man. Mira. Sangre.
How do you feel?
Oh, very strong against
Yeah!
Living in a big city, not easy for anyone. Calling on anybody, making love to just a friend.
The reaction was positive and supportive. It felt natural that we were connecting with children. To have had their support gave this project special relevance in that so many of the important factors that pertain to our purpose fell right into place that day. I feel lucky to have had my role, and every time I think about those kids, brings a smile to my face.
We all play, but we're gonna pay in the long run.
After the trash art project in Mexico City, I was done. I had been battling a chronic cold my entire stay in the elevated city, and all the energy spent into the boxing show brought my resistance down to 0. I rested until I felt I had energy to traverse the long highway miles until my next destination, Tulum, in the low Caribbean flatland on the Yucatan Peninsula, where I had been told was a tropical paradise, a paradise that called for me. I had built up a network of friends in Mexico City, so hitting the road was bittersweet. I knew I had a long road ahead of me, and I had my own hidden agenda of solitude, where I could be alone with my thoughts and start the healing process. Not for a second of this trip did I ever forget about Zadie. Everything I did to make her proud. I looked into the sky and landscape, flying down the road on my bike, and I would scream her name. Zadie! Zadie! And I knew she heard me.
I'm looking down, I can feel it round. I can feel I'm walking.
It took me 3 days to finally arrive in Cancun, where I was to meet back up with Julianne, to bid her farewell, and also to pick up a care package for my sister at the local post office there. Mexico's collection of rough highways and dirt roads was taking its toll in my overloaded 1980 Yamaha XJ650. By the time I had arrived in Cancun, and just before I barely made it to my hostel, I felt an uncharacteristic give in the rear suspension, almost as if my shocks had elongated travel. I still had about 5 miles to go on a horrible dirt road, and when I inspected the back end of my bike, I realized that the rear frame support had totally broken off on one side, and on the other side, the entire weight of the bike was hanging on to just a thread of metal holding the back end from falling completely off. The best news was that I was in Cancun, a resourceful city to locate professional repair.
Yo, what's up? This is Ian. I'm over here in Cancun, and what happened is the frame of my bike actually broke in half. It's unbelievable, but what happened was, because of the weight that I put on the tail end of the bike and the vibrations of the motor, it actually just shook a breakage right in the middle of the frame. It's unbelievable. Let me show you. There's steel tubing right here. It's the same steel tubing right here, and as you can see, it broke right off. Here we are, Cancun. Hurricane Carl coming in. So this might be the end of this bike on this trip. It could be. As you can see right here, I am at a machine shop. They do welding, they have lathes here. And I'm attempting to fix this problem I have regarding my frame. It's an anomaly. I have no idea how this happened. And anyways, I'm over here just trying my luck and see if I'm gonna get lucky here. I need these guys to come through for me. It's blistering hot out here, Cancun, and you know, I'm screwed. I'm just gonna hope and pray that I'm getting some love from the Mayan gods, if you know what I mean. As you can see, what he's doing, he's putting tubes inside the tubes of the frame in order to bolster the strength. And then hopefully in the long run it'll turn out to be a good idea. If not, well, you know how things go. It's gonna be a long one. So basically we have got the frame back in place. We tack welded it until the frame was just about as good as it could be as far as where the balance of the frame. Bike's not balanced anymore. It might fishtail a little bit on me, but as long as it gets me to Argentina, I'm gonna be cool. All right, I'm done. Bike's put together. Gracias. Ya está. Ya está. Ya me voy.
My scariest brush with death presented itself on my ride between Cancun and Tulum. After repairing the frame on my bike, I wanted to get out of touristic Cancun ASAP and into a quieter and less touristic part of the Yucatan Peninsula, Tulum. I left Cancun in fair weather, but about half the ride through, I encountered a full thunderstorm with torrential rain. I figured I only had a couple of hours left until Tulum, and since my gear was watertight and the bike was running trouble-free, I kept on going. At one point during the storm, I felt an 18-wheeler following too closely behind me, and I foolishly cranked the gas to increase distance. Because of the rain, an oily slick on the pavement below, and my abrupt acceleration, the rear tire lost traction with the road beneath me. I first thought to disengage into neutral and let the rear tire equalize with the ground, but that didn't work as planned and the bike started to wobble left to right, increasing its swing span with each wobble. Ultimately, I resolved to place my both 2 feet on the ground so I was effectively standing straight up, going 55 miles per hour, with the bike in between my legs and an 18-wheeler following me with his high beams shining bright to clearly witness my spill. Miraculously, after a horrifying stretch of speed wobbles, I slowly, perfectly matched the speed of the rear tire with that of my bike velocity by a gentle throttle of the accelerator and regained traction. I was able to slow to a stop just in time for an oncoming red light and pretended as if nothing had happened. My heart was racing adrenaline, but I knew in relief I was going to make it to the hostel where I had reservations. I made it there safely, unpacked my gear, and made my way to the receptionist, boots soaking full of water. On my way to the front desk, walking as I did unnoticed between partygoers and night shadows, is when I first laid eyes on her. There was something about her beauty that struck me instantly, like recognizing a family member in a crowd. When I asked about who she was, all that was mentioned was that she was a German. I can remember thinking that her dark features didn't match that of my German impression, and knowing that I was in trouble, I had to have her beauty.
Just before our love got lost, you see, I am as constant as a northern star, I said. Constantly in the darkness, where's it at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar.
Hostels have a kind of natural rotation of people, and it's not always guaranteed that a good group of travelers get along together, but when it does, it's a group bond almost of kinship. The next morning was one of those perfect fits in that the rotation reset, and it seemed that the entire occupancy congealed to enjoy and celebrate our travels together as a group. We all went to the beach that next day to enjoy the picturesque Tulum Caribbean. My only concern was that this flow continue, and Sophia stay part of it. We all laid out our towels under a lonely palm tree in the sand that was to mark home base for the crew.
I am a lonely painter. I live in a box of paints. I'm frightened by the devil, and I'm drawn to those who ain't afraid.
At the beach, many groups within the larger group were snorkeling up to half a mile offshore, discovering the shallow coral reefs. We sipped Coronas and ate shrimp tostadas, and I looked for an opportunity to introduce myself to this Bavarian princess. The opportunity finally came as we were swimming near each other. She was wearing Ray-Bans in the water, and I can still smell the taste in the air as the waves gently pushed up against her neck and hair, releasing an intoxicating perfume through me. I finally said hi, and we had a small chat. She told me about her love for sailing as I hung on to every word for her lovely hard German accent. The scene was set, and 4 years later, I still think of her every day. I was right to know how much trouble I'd be in.
You will be famous one day.
Sometimes, I think that there's beauty that was created just for me. I don't think anyone could be made more for me than her. It's as if God himself hand-sculpted her just for me. It made me think of the people I know up there in the heavens that may be making these decisions. And although I never knew God personally, I did know Zadie, who would surely be up there next to God. And then I felt the understanding. My brush with death sparked a dialogue with the other world, and although I didn't enter the afterlife, I did enter a new life here, starting in Tulum with Sophia, that would eventually lead me all the way back around again, to face myself, even the person that I swore I'd never wanted to be again, despite all the hard lessons I had learned from Zadie's passing.
I met a woman, she had a mouth like yours. She knew your life, she knew your devils and your deeds. She said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. It tastes so bitter and it tastes so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling, and still be on my feet. I'd still be on my feet.
Meeting Sophia gave me life. I had been lonely and yearning for love and affection. From the moment I laid eyes on her, I had to have her. The vibe and people surrounding us during the next days was a swift stroke of luck in that we formed a strong bond in a group of friends. I pulled every move in the books to court her. Due to my overwhelming charm, red roses, dancing moves, Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You karaoke performance, and mainly just good old luck, I won her over.
A veces llega la lluvia para limpiar las heridas.
We spent the remainder of her 2 weeks vacationing time left together exploring south, through Mexico and into Belize, where we enjoyed a getaway at Cocker Cays. I explained to her about public trash art, how we use trash as our medium, and that this trip will be turned into an adventure documentary. More importantly, I was honest to her about Zadie, and that this trip was devoted to healing from her loss. She seemed to understand. If anything else, she was intrigued, and I admired her for having depth of understanding. It was probably her most attractive quality to me. something that eventually led me to Germany a year and a half later to further explore our relationship together.
¿Y para qué llorar? ¿Pa' qué? Si duele una pena, se olvida.
Our stay in Belize consisted of lobster, jerk chicken, karaoke, lazy days at the cantina, and sharing romantic sunsets. It seemed our communication flowed seamless, and we learned all about each other and our different cultures. We were two lovers far, far away from our homes, so we truly were free, unstifled by the common social pressures of normal daily life. Perhaps we were living in a dream world totally unrealistically, or perhaps we were unleashed to be who we wanted to be, not caring about what anybody else thinks. Our 2 weeks together was brief, just enough to get a glimpse of who each other was. It was incomplete but impressionable, and I filled in the gaps with positive imagination. I'll never forget how we parted ways at the bus station, just across the street from having our last jerk chicken in Belize, and our kiss goodbye. It was bittersweet like all friendships made on the road. But anyways, I had a long road ahead of me and looked forward to milling it out with each passing mile and self-discovery. We stayed in touch with Facebook.
Voy a escuchar el silencio para encontrar el camino. ¿Y para qué llorar? ¿Para qué? Si duele una pena, se olvida. ¿Y para qué sufrir? ¿Para qué? Si duele una pena, se olvida. La, la, la. Vivir, vivir, la, 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 la. Voy a reír, voy a gozar. Vivir, vivir.
Leaving Belize, I felt a relief. It was good to be on the road again, alone to my thoughts and at acceptance with destiny. I can say that it's at those moments of transition that obliterate time for me. I yearn to be foreign, having faith in only myself for orientation and survival. It's true freedom.
Now I'm back. Now I'm back and time is slow.
Moving south from Belize, I only had one goal. It was to make it to Honduras, Zadie's home country, to pay homage to her. I wanted to feel the surroundings that she had experienced as a child. I wanted to look into the eyes of Hondurans and find her in them. I wanted to look into the sky and ocean and stick my fingers in the dirt and feel her again. I wanted to enjoy this with her.
Looking through the glass door, feeling that cold rainwater flooding my bones.
Zadie's passing is proof that life is not fair. When I hear the old cliche, everything happens for a reason, I think, well then if it does, then reason is evil. Having spent some of the most meaningful and beautiful moments with Zadie, I feel embarrassed for her to tell the story even after she's passed away. She was the most innocent person I have ever met, with the most endearing brown eyes and biggest heart. In the face of life's most vicious and ugly, she would always come around again and smile when life presented its seldom kindness. She never compromised her integrity, and I learned how to truly be courageous because of her example.
Never thought I'd see those headlines. Oh, what those black letters have done.
I'll never forget my last conversation with Zadie. She sounded upbeat and was excited about a job opportunity she had just been presented since losing her LAUSD teaching job because of government cutbacks. I remember we had a light conversation and we laughed, and then the call was cut off. I called her back and she answered, but we got cut off again. I called back again and the phone picked up, but I couldn't make sense of what I was hearing. I waited a bit and then got pulled over by the highway patrol for speeding. I hung up the phone, not thinking too much of it. While I received a ticket by the highway patrol, Zadie was being murdered by her own son.
Who are these shameless people speaking in a heartless tongue?
I was angry that she had left me and dumbfounded at the permanency of her leaving. I couldn't believe that I'd never be able to hear her comforting voice again and that dependable heart that was always there for me. I know that she thought about me in her last moments. I have no doubts, and I know that she lives in me still, and she'll be my guardian angel until the day I get to see her again.
When can I see you again? When can my heart beat again? And when do the tears stop running over? When does you get over it begin? I hear what you're saying, but I swear that it's not making sense. So when can I see you? When can I see you again? And when can my heart beat again? When can I see you again? And when can I breathe once again? And when can I see you again? Ooh, baby.
My time spent in Honduras was ethereal. I spent many days inside coffee shops waiting out the tropical rain. I visited places Zadie had told me about in her life, and I soaked it up. Having expressed myself artistically, thrown myself at beautiful women, and disconnected as any heathen could, I felt myself vulnerable without psychological distractions. Almost at the end of the Honduran road, I lastly came to stay a few days in the quaint town of Marcala.
I wanna feel it in the morning, I wanna feel it in the day too.
I arrived late and was forced to hurriedly locate suitable lodging. Having done my best, I slept the night off in a shanty hotel without any protection from the night mosquitoes. Here's where I contracted dengue fever. Slowly, as I tried to sleep, fever crept through my body. Bone-breaking pain gripped me in its vice, and I struggled to close my eyes. At one point, I'd left my room to look for help, but the neighbors' homes were completely blacked out and eerily silent. I resigned to take my chance until morning. Drowning in sweat, I saw white flashes that burned my eyes, and I cried involuntarily the entire night. I came to say Zadie's name and tried to touch the ceiling, knowing that she was there, just teetering on my condition. We have never been so close since her death.
You know this drive is getting boring. Here comes another station.
I endured 3 days of hell and finally came to wake in a soft light. I had been moved to a family-owned hotel down the street and was being taken care of by Mauricio, his wife and 2 sons. Regaining health, I could tell that my body had been put to its limit, cleansed as well as being 20 pounds lighter. I was able to seamlessly write music and visualize with clairvoyance. I knew I had a long road ahead of me, and although this clarity was a virtue, it left me more vulnerable than ever before. My senses were hypersensitive.
I long to see, I long to let go.
Days, then weeks passed by, and I was living a simple existence. My life revolved around coffee and poetry in the morning, a long hard day's motoring, ended by a cigarette, beer, and writing 1 song a night, and I resolved to get on my way to Panama, where I was to meet Sophia for 3 weeks. She was super excited to see me after our beautiful 2-week romance in Mexico, but I did not have the strong party-goer mentality that I did when we first met. I was very weak, and reality was a distant abstraction. To play along in a relationship was something that I feared I couldn't fake.
I don't know why I'm driving this way. Never did know where I was going.
This was the midway point of my trip, both geographically and figuratively. The interweaving themes of this adventure had totally crushed me, and I was washed clean. I felt as if, in respect to my art, I was an egotistical fool, clowning for attention as a trash artist. As in respect to my healing, my heart was thrashed and dealing with the pain by layering on more female attention, which was coming back to haunt me as a reflection of my futile machismo. All that I had was my vision, and I had to rebuild myself back together again somehow.
I wanna be bombing hills, skateboard celebration.
Spending time with Sophia took all my strength. I was honest with her about my condition and experienced anxiety attacks daily. My hands were constantly sweating, my heart was constantly beating through my chest, and escape was all that I yearned for. Sophia and I crossed over from Panama City to Cartagena, Colombia on December 31st, 2010, just in time for the New Year's celebration. We found a delicate balance together and made the relationship last for 3 weeks, with her dream still intact. When she left, I had a mini celebration and found comforting destitute in being alone. I could now motor the rest of South America alone as a crazy freak that I am. And this time around, I was completely aware of my mission: escape. Nothing but pure, sweet escape to be the insane fool that I am. The thousands of miles that lay before me implied safety, that everything would work itself out naturally. On the road from Cartagena, Colombia, leading to Huanchaco, Peru, was one of inward self-discovery. I had been shaken to the core mentally, emotionally, and artistically, and it was my time to find solitude. The lush raw terrain throughout Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru couldn't have been a more natural place to find it. As I crossed through the mountainous green landscapes on my old Yamaha XJ650, I passed volcanoes and waterfalls throughout. Here I had the perfect opportunity to isolate myself spiritually. Living in a modern age of technology, my goal was minimal. My sole purpose was to traverse the land. During this leg of the trip, my artistic expression took the form of thinking and expressing myself silently through poetry, such as the following piece I wrote in Quito, Ecuador, called "Catch Me Like a Fish." Catch me like a fish with no struggle. I make my migration at night, indifferent as the dark side of the moon. No mention in bold titles, no mention in headlines, only hanging from lifelines like a rope. Drag me tug by tug as I close my eyes. What a fuss pain can be. Billions exactly the same, billions out for themselves, surviving in anonymity, a billion years old in age, alone as a social security number, routine as a self-examination, organization turns colors gray. Compose a song for a dear friend gone. Although the show has started late, there's no doubt you'll feel it the same. It's written just for you. Much more than traversing continents, the mind travels much further. I think there's something to be said for the act of voluntary and willing isolation of oneself. When you stop talking, ideas in your head start building, and your perception grows stronger and the more leaded with independent thinking. The world inside you grows hungrier and more powerful, eventually releasing itself through expression, unfettered by stifling external distraction. In this way, traveling through the inside of my mind is what really fascinates me, and is why I am a born adventurist. It is that journey in particular that inspired my songwriting and gave me my own true voice again. Two months later, I arrived in Huanchaco, Peru, on the beautiful Peruvian coastline. Here, the waves are big and smooth enough for a beginner to learn to surf. I checked into Hostal Lily and met a sweet group of travelers. At Hostal Lily in Huanchaco, Peru, I enjoyed a much-needed retreat from the long, hard road and revitalized myself for the next leg of the trip through Chile into my final destination in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Women, adventure, art are all one and the same for me. They are what I seek in this life. Reflecting on the purpose of this trip, I find it hard to draw a distinction between them all. Life in the city is boring. I was running as far and as fast away from my home in the city, and I didn't know how or when I would be healed from the pain and anger that I wasn't even sure where it was coming from anyways. All I knew was that it felt good, and this road presented more of what I wanted beyond my greatest imagination.
Here I am in Chuquicamata, the world's biggest copper mine. It's they say you can see this mine from space, it's so big. And this is a perfect example of consumerism, because we do so much in the name of production and consumerism that will make mountains of trash and relocate cities of people. And when we're done, we're not going to do nothing, because there's no more value to us. And I think that's a perspective that I'm working on.
There is no man richer than me. All I have to do is say the simple words. Leslie, a beautiful Chilean I met in La Serena, Chile, was someone who'd made me feel rich. I met her in a local hostel that her family managed. She was 17 years old and was as pure and sweet as any woman could be. We met in the hostel lobby and exchanged glances. I noticed a red rose tattooed on the back of her shoulder as she walked to her room, and I knew it was inevitable. When I had the chance to speak to her, I quickly discovered she played violin, little knowing that she would be the most talented musician that I'd ever have the chance to collaborate with. We scheduled a time to play together and came up with this beautiful piece together, No Getting Over. To be human is to be trapped inside our bodies, analogous as a man in jail. The bars of his cell like the skin around our bones. Our every effort is to escape this body and connect to something else, whether it be more material, love for someone else out there to come and save us from the world, or to be granted eternal bliss in heaven above. I am constantly climbing out of my body to try and escape it and to become one with what is out there through my adventure. I will continue to look for you out there, and there will be no doubt when I finally see you. Imagine that I loved you so much that I gave up on everything else, that I disappeared into seclusion, into a corner of the city streets, in hope that you may pass this way, see me crying, smelling of wine, stinking in self-disgust, as a fool with the heart of a lion, and that you'll finally know how much I love you. As I neared the end of my Pan American Highway motorcycle adventure, another type of intelligence, I came to measure an anticlimax. This trip was over due to me setting my goals as such, by means of geographical distance ending in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I sold my beloved Yamaha XJ650 motorcycle. I was still a blank slate and still so young, and I yearned for a greater future on the next horizon. The destination that inclined me next was towards what beheld the greatest promise for me, and every inch of me was pulled towards Sofia in Munich, Germany, Bavaria.
Wrestled by the sea, a loneliness and me. I asked myself,